Hey, this is Shannon Tidwell, Garden Girl at Two Peas in a Bucket, and welcome back to my last 213 in 2013. We are winding down to the end of the year and are so close to our 213 prompts for you. So this week I'm going to have 3 new prompts to get you started on your next creative project. I have to say that I've really enjoyed this video series and it's really helped push my creativity, and I hope it's done the same for you. For me, sometimes a project will start with a photo idea or a particular product that I want to use, or maybe a technique that I want to try out. And this one is kind of a combination of the product and the technique. I had started a layout a few days ago that I was cutting the windows out of the background, and after I got started, I kind of wish that I had been videotaping it so that I could share it with you guys for this series. But I didn't, so I decided to go look through my stash and try to find another paper that would look cool with little windows cut out of it. So that's what I did. This paper is actually from the Midnight Project Life paper pack. The paper that I had cut before was actually picture frames that I was cutting the center out of. So this is a little bit different, a little more whimsical. When I'm cutting it, I'm just making sure that I leave a little bit at each end so that I don't cut the paper in half. And I'm just going to kind of randomly cut these strips out. There's really no rhyme or reason, just kind of keep going until I think it looks like I've got enough. I bet you could take a look through your stash of pattern paper and find several papers that would look really cool doing this. Any wood grain paper, really, you could do it too. Maybe even some chevron or striped papers, you could do it too. Maybe some with some circle patterns. But I bet you could find several papers that would really have a neat effect with some pattern paper peeking through. So that was our first prompt, to cut windows into your background. So once I had the vision of my layout, I went digging through my stash of photos and found a photo that I thought would go well with this background and the idea that I had in my head. So now it's time to start gathering up some pattern papers to let peek through the window. So the first one I grabbed was this fun one by Dear Lizzie. I thought it would be a good one to start with, kind of dictates the rest of the colors I'm going to be using on the page, just kind of sets the precedence, I guess, for the page and kind of the look that I'm going to go for. So all I'm going to do is adhere these strips directly to the back of my background. Now that I got that first strip in and kind of decided which color palette I was going with, I got a stack of pattern papers together that kind of went along with that and just started cutting strips. And you can see that I really just kind of fitting them in as they go, kind of like a little puzzle, and some of them I kind of had to trim around to make sure they didn't poke through 2 holes at once. And I'm using a glue stick to glue them on because my kids have been doing art project and have used all my regular adhesive. So I found this glue stick and it actually works really well and made me feel very crafty while I was scrapbooking today. So anyway, I'm just kind of keep going, cutting the strips and adhering them on and then flipping it over and kind of checking it as I go. You can see that I kind of alternate brighter colors with some more subdued colors, a little more neutral, just to kind of, I don't want all of them to be bright and overwhelming, just like I wouldn't want all of them to be polka dots or hearts. So kind of mix in some stripes and some different patterns just to keep it interesting. Are you keeping track of how many pattern papers I'm using? I think by the end of this layout, when it's all said and done, I'll have used 12 pattern papers on this page. And so that's going to be our next challenge, is for you to use at least 10 pattern papers on your next project. Now that might sound a little overwhelming, but as you can see, you can use the pattern papers in small doses, and that way it doesn't take over your page. It becomes more of an embellishment on your page. And the good thing about the windows is you can test a pattern paper before you decide to use it or not. I found that the smaller, kind of tighter patterns worked better to show through these little skinny windows. Perhaps if you had larger windows cut in your background, then some larger pattern paper patterns might work, but for this layout, I stuck with the smaller, tighter patterns. And again, mixing in a little bit of neutral, a little bit of craft always kind of helps tone things down a bit. As I was testing this pattern paper to see how it would look through one of the strips, I decided that it would work well as my kind of background, because I'm going to need a pattern paper to back the whole thing, and then this way the polka dots can show through the 2 little circle oval cuts that I had made in the paper. So I found one more pattern paper to fill that last strip. I did an orange and white stripe. And then what I'm going to do is back the whole paper onto this polka dot. And that way, because I needed it to back it up anyway, and that way it can show through both those holes, and it'll keep the page nice and sturdy. Okay, now it's time to start thinking about the rest of the page, how I'm going to embellish that cool background I made. So as I showed you earlier, I got a photo. I've also gathered up several little embellishments I think will go neat. And then I also had this paper that is from the Midnight Project Life collection as well. And I really liked this big word perfection that was printed in script across the page. So I'm going to use that for part of my title. So I'm just cutting it out with scissors the good old-fashioned way. And I'm going to go ahead and put pop dots under my photo and get that adhered to where I think I want it on the page. And then we can start adhering all the rest of the embellishments and things I've gathered down on the page. I had this cute Project Life card that had a little bubble in the middle that says, "Let's make it a wonderful day." And I really liked the bubble. I didn't want the whole card because I didn't want it to cover up my background, so I just trimmed out the bubble. And I'll stick a pop dot under it, and we'll use that as part of the cluster of embellishments around my photo. So now, of course, I'm putting some pop dots underneath my perfection title because I want to help it pop off the page a little bit, not get mixed into the busy background that I have going. So it does take a little time, and it is a little annoying to do all those little pop dots, but the effort is worth it. It'll look cute once it's done. Okay, now add a few more embellishments. These cool little wood veneer kind of oval circle things by Studio Calico I thought went well with the background, kind of the whole wood theme I guess that I had going on with the wood grain pattern paper. I thought it would just help tie everything together. So I'm just kind of sprinkling those around my page using a bit of adhesive to hold them on, again just the glue stick. And now I'm going to add a few little dots of color. I'm adding some little epoxy button things all around, just kind of mixing up the colors that kind of go with the background pattern papers that I've mixed in, and just sprinkling around some small and big ones just to kind of add some color, and mix in some small circles with the larger circles that I've already got going on the page. I think helps balance everything out. I had been wanting to use this arrow chalk sticker. I believe it's by My Mind's Eye. I've been wanting to use it on the last couple of projects that I've done and hadn't found a place for it. But I think today that I found a place for it, I'm just going to move those little stickers around, epoxy stickers, and find a place for it underneath my title so that I can add another word so that my title will say Perfection Captured. And I can't forget to dot the I. And now it's time to do a little bit of journaling, and this layout is really just about how, of course, that we spend all our days just hustling and bustling, and it's far from perfect days, but there are times whenever you stop and you're able to capture that perfection. So that was one of these days. So I'm just writing a little bit about that, and then I'll tuck the tag into the pocket behind the photo. And here I just felt like my layout wasn't quite finished. I did a little digging around on the junk on my desk and found this clock that was actually left over from a layout I did last month. I believe it was my video here last month. So that is going to be your third and final prompt for this lesson, and that is to use a leftover from your last layout on your current layout. So I thought it fit well, the clock going with just kind of capturing a perfect time in our lives. And so I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that clock on. And then I'll also add a little bit of stitching on it because you can see I stitched around the edge of the layout just to kind of help finish it off. And so I'm going to add a little stitching just on the edge of that clock just to make it look finished and like it belonged on the edge there. Yes, one more final touch. I felt like the layout needed just something up there around my tag. So I found a basic gray little flag that says good looking and tucked it in there with a pop dot. So there you have it, my last 2013 and 2013 layout for you. As I said, we have 3 prompts this week. The first one is to cut windows into your background. The second one was to use at least 10 pattern papers on your page. And the third one was to use a leftover from your last page onto your new page. I've really enjoyed hanging out with you guys this year. I'm looking forward to what 2014 brings us. But I hope you've had a good year at Two Peas in a Bucket. We will see you later. Bye. Again, this was Shannon Tidwell, Garden Girl at Two Peas. Bye.